Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Ridge is rocked by Taylor's confession on Bold and the Beautiful. If you thought Taylor was going to sit on her prognosis after she collapsed in front of Ridge on the Bold and the Beautiful, thankfully that didn't end up being the case. Perhaps we won't be trapped in a "I don't want to tell my family I'm dying" storyline again after all. Sure, we had to sit through yet another talk between Katie and Will about the potential rekindling of her romance with Bill, needless flirting between Carter and Hope, and Steffi being heavy-handed about her parents' connection, but we did at least get a few minutes with Ridge and Taylor in the Forrester salon. Once the co-CEO was able to wake her up and getting her seated on the couch, after draping his suit jacket around her, I might add, he pressed his best friend about what caused her to faint. It was clear that Taylor didn't want to open up to him, but her insistence that he not tell Steffi what happened, and her hedging convinced Ridge that something serious was going on. Taylor didn't want to be taken to the hospital, and she told him that her falling out was akin to having a panic attack when he asked her if it might be that, but it was the way she was speaking that tipped him off that she was hiding the truth from him. Finally, she just had to say it. She has heart failure and she's dying. It was a devastating reveal perfectly played by Rebecca Budig and Thorsten Kaye. Tomorrow's episode of the soap should be a fantastic one, and hopefully will give them more focus. Now that Taylor's secret has been shared with the love of her life, this story will start to have some wheels. The writers have made a point over the last couple of weeks to highlight how strong Brooke and Ridge's relationship is, and how nothing could get in the middle of their love at this stage in their life. Taylor's illness, however, and the possibility that she could die is certain to do just that, even if neither she nor Ridge intended to do so. Even though Ridge has consistently chosen Brooke, it's true that Tridge's bond is undeniable, and Ridge has never been able to shake how he feels for Taylor. Her heart failing is going to prompt him to want to be by her side through this, and to make sure she knows that she's not alone. She has him to lean on, and that he'll support her in this fight for her life. Brooke and Taylor are supposed to be working toward friendship, but we'll have to see how long that holds up in the face of this storyline. Not because Brooke wouldn't be supportive of both Ridge and Taylor, but because it's a complicated situation and hearts will literally be on the line. Make sure to have your tissues on hand, y'all. Ridge Forrester stood at the edge of his family's vast estate, staring out over the breathtaking view of the mountains that had been the backdrop of his life for years. It was a rare moment of peace, one that seemed to hold an infinite amount of quiet promise. But there was no peace today. Today, the world he had carefully built, his marriage, his business, his family, was teetering on the edge of an emotional precipice. And it was all because of one confession. Taylor Hayes had just walked into his office, her presence as commanding and graceful as it had always been. She'd greeted him with a warmth that was all too familiar, but the moment her gaze locked with his, Ridge knew something was different. There was a weight in her eyes, a gravity to her stance that unsettled him. He knew Taylor, knew the depth of her soul, and something in her energy told him that whatever she was about to say would change everything. The words came slowly, methodically. Taylor, with the same cool elegance that had once captivated him, now looked vulnerable, almost as though she were standing on the edge of a cliff herself, waiting for his response to push her over. "Ridge, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something that's been eating at me for months now." His heart skipped a beat, the hairs on the back of his neck standing at attention. Taylor, always composed, was struggling to maintain control. That in itself was enough to unsettle him. "What is it, Taylor?" he asked, his voice tight with an anxiety he couldn't quite explain. Taylor took a step closer, and for a moment, the space between them felt charged with the tension of unspoken history. Ridge's mind raced through all the possibilities. Had something happened to their children? Was something wrong with the company? But Taylor's next words rocked him to his core, shattering every assumption Bill Spencer. The confession hung in the air between them like a thunderclap, its impact reverberating through Ridge's entire being. For a moment, he couldn't breathe, couldn't move. His mind scrambled to process the words, to understand what had just been said. Bill Spencer? His old rival, the man who had caused so much strife in Ridge's life? And Taylor, the woman he had loved, the woman he had always trusted, had been with him? Ridge's heart sank, his chest tightening as though a weight had just settled on it. He searched Taylor's face for any sign that this might be some kind of cruel joke, some test to see how much he could take. But there was no hint of deception in her expression. She wasn't looking away, wasn't avoiding his gaze. There was only raw honesty in her eyes, and perhaps a hint of guilt. "Why?" Ridge managed to choke out, his voice shaking with a mix of disbelief and hurt. "Why would you do that, Taylor? After everything we've been through, after everything that's happened between us?" Taylor took a deep breath, clearly fighting back the emotions that were threatening to overtake her. "I never wanted this to happen. It was a mistake, Ridge. But it happened, and I've been carrying it around, unable to move forward. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The words were out there now, but the silence that followed felt heavier than anything Ridge had ever experienced. He couldn't quite find his footing. His mind was flooded with images of Taylor and Bill together. Images that didn't belong in his world. Images that shattered the image he had of Taylor, the woman he had once believed to be his perfect match. The betrayal cut deeper than Ridge had anticipated. It wasn't just that Taylor had been with Bill. No, it was the feeling of being blindsided by someone he trusted more than anyone. He thought he knew Taylor. He thought they had built something unshakable, something that could survive anything. And yet, here she was, confessing to a mistake that had the power to unravel everything. Ridge's emotions shifted from shock to anger in an instant. "You slept with him. After everything, after how much you've hated him, how much you've despised the man he is, you went to him." His voice was rising, the hurt now giving way to frustration. He felt betrayed not only by Taylor, but by the very foundation of everything they had shared. "I don't expect you to understand," Taylor said, her voice quivering. "But it wasn't about Bill. It was about me. I was feeling lost, and I let myself make a choice I deeply regret. I never meant to hurt you, Ridge." Ridge turned away, his fists clenched at his sides. He couldn't even look at her anymore. The pain was too much. "I don't know what to say to you right now, Taylor. I don't know if I can forgive you for this." Taylor's voice softened, almost pleading. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to know that I never meant for this to happen. I was confused, and I made a terrible mistake." The words echoed in Ridge's mind, but they couldn't undo what had been done. There was no easy way to come back from this. His relationship with Taylor, their shared history, had just been altered in a way he couldn't comprehend. And Bill was always there, lurking in the background, a constant thorn in his side, a man who had taken too much from Ridge already. The room felt suffocating, the weight of Taylor's confession pressing down on him. "I need time," Ridge finally said, his voice strained. "I don't know how to fix this, Taylor. I don't know if I can." With that, he walked out of the room, the door clicking shut behind him with a finality that left the air still and heavy. The future, his future, suddenly felt uncertain. Ridge had always been a man who faced challenges head-on, but this was something different. This was a betrayal by someone he had trusted with his heart. And now, standing on the precipice of his own emotions, Ridge didn't know what to do next. All he knew was that the road ahead would be anything but easy.